So welcome to this Leadership Lounge today. It will be slightly different. It will be one host, but with three guests. So I'll try and see if I can control our wild guest from Madrid. You can look forward to a very exciting hour, I think, with our friends. Before we start too, I would say that you can comment on Facebook. I'll try and keep an eye on it. If there's any questions you would like to pose, I'll try and grab them if time allows. So let's just dive into it. First of all, a short intro of the European Leaders Learning Community. I believe many of you have probably been here before or heard of it, but if not, then it basically began during COVID. We wanted to launch something during COVID as so many people were stuck back home with the screens, and we came up with this leadership lounge as well, where we're inviting and interviewing all kinds of leaders, mostly in Europe but also elsewhere. So warmly welcome if this is your first time. So every month we have a topic, and every month come with articles, short videos, a leadership cycle. It's a roundtable discussion with different people that are discussing the topic of the week or the month, and then we have this leadership lounge. But you can find it all on the website europe.ellc.eu. Maybe Ross, and he's behind the scene here with the tech. He'll probably post it in the chat as well. So. And working multi-generationally. So we actually have a father and son here with us, and co-worker. I'll just introduce them in a second. Here they are. There you go, sitting in Madrid. I know that many churches, especially in Western Europe, in all of Europe, I think they are just asking the question, scratching their heads. How do we reach this next generation? How do we talk to them? Where are they? So I'm very excited to have Lance McKinney and his son Kevin, and Ivan, co-worker through 8 years, with us here, all working in Madrid. I've heard rumors for years of what you're doing, and I feel a little bit like the Queen of Sheba. She's sick of hearing the rumors of the wisdom of Solomon. So she packed up the camels and went to see him firsthand and asked hard questions. So I'm curious to hear what it is you're doing with this generation. I hear you're reaching thousands of people, especially young ones, leading them to Christ. So what are you doing, and who are you?
Yeah, that's a great question. What are we doing?
But first, Lance, who are you?
Who am I? Well, I really, especially since we're talking about being intergenerational, I just have to honor my uncle. Gary McKinney has been in YWAM. He's one of the European elders, been here for 48 years. Then he's to blame for me coming to Europe. He invited me to do a DTS 26 years ago. I laughed in his face because I'd already been to seminary. I thought I knew, what am I going to learn in a silly 5-month school? And but long story short, God made it clear I was supposed to come. I came, and all of my religion turned into relationship. I encountered Jesus, and I said, this is what I want young people to experience. I don't want them to experience religion. So I stuck around. And I've been working with YWAM ever since, 26 years, last month. And we were working with the DTS because it's what I knew. But about 4 years in, Tabita, my wife Tabita, she's from Spain. We have 2 kids, Jessica, who's actually doing a DTS right now on outreach in Philippines, and Kevin, who's 20, Jessica's 18. That's our family. But as we were leading a DTS, we were doing outreach, and we weren't seeing results. We were down in southern Spain, and we only saw 2 people come to Christ, sleeping on the floor of a used furniture store with rats and cockroaches. Made for some great stories, some exciting nights. But my wife left me. Tabitha went to sleep with the girls, and I was kind of writing a newsletter home, whining, saying, God, it's not worth it. We're doing all this outreach, all this suffering, quote unquote, and to see no results. And God reminded me of those 2 people and said, those 2 people are worth my son's life. And I repented. I said, okay, God, they were worth it. But what do we do to reach these 42 million people in Spain that don't know you? And God challenged me. He said, Lance, they haven't rejected me. They've rejected you. And I said, God speaks pretty harsh to me because that's how I hear. That's how I talk sometimes too, I guess. But I realized, I said, God, how do we reach them? And he said, the problem is you're using a language they don't understand. It wasn't referring to Spanish or English. It was our methodology didn't connect with the hearts. So now, 2 months later, we were in Budapest at the 40th anniversary of YWAM, and we heard Mark Anderson talk about being relevant with evangelism, challenging Europe to be in the public forum, to be relevant, to use methodology that connects with the young generation. We saw a video of athletes, big, strong guys breaking things, skateboarders, dancers, and Polynesian dancers doing their thing. And my wife nudged me and said, Lance, this would work in Spain. And I said, yeah. And then I said to Alfonso Chireni, who was the national director at the time, Alfonso, this would work in Spain. Somebody needs to do this. And he said, yeah, you and Tabita. So we went, learned, and ever since we've been working with Impact World. And we started a team. We have a team of about 40 some people full-time working with us now here in Madrid. When we moved to Madrid 12 years ago, there were 7 people here at the base in YWAM Madrid. Now we're about 70 in the community, maybe up to 80. And God's doing great things. And I think it has to do with the fact that we do understand the intergenerational collaboration and giving a space for all the generations. This guy's got a baby on the way. We have 8 babies on the way right now in our ministry, just here in Madrid. So that's kind of who I am. My passion is seeing people have an encounter with Jesus. My tagline in my email is reaching the lost, inspiring and challenging the church, and raising up the next generation of radical Christ followers. And so that's kind of who I am. That's my passion. You want me to introduce
Fantastic.
these guys? They're much more interesting than I am.
Yes, please do.
Not really. Maybe.
So Kevin's my oldest son, and he's been working with us for many years, but full time for 3.5 or 4 years. When he graduated here in Spain, he started working with us. He said, Dad, I want to help do some stuff. And so he's creating all of our videos and all kinds of tech stuff. That's kind of his thing. And now he's been working with us here in Madrid for the last 1.5 years after doing his DTS in London. And yeah, he's my right-hand guy. He's my best critic. He's my most critical critic, which I actually love. Kevin's always seeing how we can improve stuff. And we've given him that freedom to say it. Not to everybody. Matter of fact, he used to, every event we would do, he would come up with pages of stuff that we did wrong. Yeah. And so he would, in our evaluation time after our evangelistic events, and he would just no, this was wrong, and this was wrong, and this person came out wrong. You held your hands wrong there. Literally pages of stuff. And the first couple times we let it go, and then after that we said, maybe you should just talk to me and Theo, who was kind of our production person, because he saw stuff nobody else was seeing. And thanks to his pursuit of excellence in order to reach more people as Impact, we just keep getting better. So that's kind of an intro to Kevin. Ivan.
Fantastic. Before you introduce Ivan, I have to ask if there's also positive things from him, or is it just the negative list?
Oh, no, it's mostly negative. It's 90 negative.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we all know the good stuff. We all see the good stuff. So it's like, hey, wwhy do you need to say that? I'll give you an idea of how this works. We do events. So we have a show, and we've been doing the same show for a long time. So all of our dancers and drama people were a little tired of that show. So we decided to create a whole new one. They spent 2 months creating this amazing theatrical presentation. We did it. We did a dress rehearsal, invited people to come, and we saw plenty of people give their lives to Christ at the dress rehearsal. And afterwards, I was meeting with our core team. We have what we call the nucleo, the nucleus, the core. And then we're talking about doing evaluation. Kevin said, can I hop in? And I said, sure, come on in. And he just tore the thing apart of all the reasons why it didn't work. And he was our greatest critic of the old show. He's like, why don't we just keep doing the old show? Because the only thing that matters is that people hear the gospel and give their lives to Christ. Eternity is at stake. We can't be doing stuff that doesn't make sense. So no, not a lot of positive.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. Ivan, are you more positive? How is it here?
He's 100% positive.
Okay, please.
That's
Please
why I love
introduce
to
him.
work with Kevin.
Yeah.
Because we
Yeah. I
have
know.
balance. Yeah, so I'm originally from Cameroon, but I came here when I was 3 years old. Now I'm 35. So I've been living in Madrid my whole life. And I joined Impact in 2013. I came just for a camp.
Whoa. I was at an event like a few weeks before, and it was called Moving Music, and it was a competition, and Ivan was a DJ. He was DJing for these guys that were dancing or singing or something. So somebody said, "Oh yeah, Ivan's coming to show me pictures." I'm like, "Oh, I know that guy. He's a DJ." And they're all like, "No." I'm like, "No. He was at an event. He was a DJ." And come to find out, he was actually an amazing dancer, and he's an incredible rap artist. And so when I said, "No, but you're a DJ, right?" He's like, "No, I don't know how to DJ. I was just pretending." So that's kind of Ivan. He's a showman.
A showman. And yeah, I remember my first question to Lance was, "Okay, but this is a good show, but what we can do with this?" And Lance told me that if you want to change the world, just join Impact. And I thought, in that moment, I thought, wow, this is like too much. But after our first show, I saw people coming to Christ, and I've been in church during a long time here in Madrid, and I never saw before like Spaniards coming to Christ in that way. So for me, it was a confirmation, and that okay, this thing works. So I want to be part of this. So I'm here since 2013, so almost 10 years, kind of 10 years working. I've seen a lot of things happening here, and I'm really grateful because these have given me the opportunity to reach not only my generation, but also the next generation. And yeah, it's a pleasure, and I'm really honored to be part of what God is doing here.
Fantastic. Lance, how did you get to this place, of this type of fruitfulness? I understand there's a whole team of fruitfulness, but before, I think you said a key thing. You said religion turned into relationships. I mean, now it's one thing, but what are some of the
Well, I'm an amazing dancer.
You can say that in learning and getting you to the place of fruitfulness that you have now.
We got cut off there for a second. I'm an amazing dancer. Is really the key. That's not true at all. I don't dance. I don't know how to dance. I think God called me to missions when I was 17 years old, and I'm very simple. The truth is, I'm very simple, and I'm very honest. Try to be very honest and very authentic. And I think that's one of the keys, by the way, to working with the next generation is authenticity. They hate fake. They're looking for something real. And so I think fruitfulness also, honestly, I probably should have invited Gary to be in this conversation, because most of what I do, I learned from Gary as a leader. And he had his whole mindset was developmental. Everything we do is to develop people, to actually, how do we say it in English? Potenciarles, to propel them to the next level. And I think that mindset, I'm not really good at it. I have to be intentional. Gary's just, that is how he trained me for like 4 or 5 years in my early years in the DTS setting, in a dynamic where we're training leaders. And everything we did was, how do we develop these people to become better, to be everything God wants them to be? So I think that way of thinking is probably one of the greatest keys. How can we reach more? How can we get people to be their best? And I think sometimes we have a misunderstanding of how that works, because I think sometimes we try to cater to people's desires. That somebody wants to be a singer, but they're bad at it. Well, a lot of times we're like, oh, but that's their passion, that's their vision, so we have to encourage them in it. Well, there's different ways of encouraging people. One is telling them they need to get singing lessons, and investing time and energy so they get better. And I think, authenticity, being honest, being serious about how do we develop people. I think in the Christian world, so many times we're unrealistic in expectations, and we think it's nice. I'm not nice. I don't think nice is not a fruit of the Spirit. Kindness is, niceness isn't. And there's a subtle difference. And I think just being honest, helping people become all they can be without creating a false expectation of what they should be because they just don't have the gifts or skills. But also seeing people prophetically, I think is one of the keys. Is when somebody just doesn't do anything right, and you're just like, God, what do you see in them? When we can see prophetically and speak into that and propel them towards what God has for them, it unlocks something in them. So fruitfulness, I think it's being honest. And I think a lot of times we're not honest with ourselves. So when it came to our outreaches, we were doing a lot of outreach. We were not connecting with the hearts of people. They were rejecting the methods, never hearing the method. When we understood that and asked God for what are the keys to reaching the hearts of Spaniards, he talked to us about using arts, music, sports, and dance. And I realized dance is part of arts, but I mean, it's very clear about what we needed to use to get people's attention. We spent a lot of time, Tabita and I went to the States for 4 years to be trained with Impact. We were just sponges, learning everything we could. So I think those are a few of the keys, is just being honest, being brutally honest, doing a proper evaluation about what you're doing and what's not working. I see so many YWAM leaders, I'll be real specific to YWAM, that think that activity, and I'll be more specific to YWAM Spain. I hear people like, oh, but we're doing schools every year. I'm like, yeah, but are your schools any good? Is what you're doing actually producing fruit in the lives of the people, and is it multiplying out? And so I'm pretty hard on leaders because I think we're not honest with ourselves often enough. And I believe that doing what God says will bring fruitfulness. And I think a lot of times we start doing what God says, but we stop asking the questions along the way. We get into systematized activity and we stop being willing to change. And I think, as an apostolic kind of leader, I'm always trying to change stuff. It's like always starting new stuff. Kevin actually gets upset with me because he's like, Dad, why are we starting something new when we still have to perfect what we're already doing? So I think just a lot of times I just heard this as we had our national strategy conference a few months ago, and somebody said, oh, but we're obeying what God said. And I just, it's hard for me not to be the bad guy because I'm just like, we're obeying what God said, but are we asking him every day how to get better? Because a lot of times I think we hear God and we go with it and we forget to keep asking. And so how do we get fruitful? I think it's really daily just being honest with God. Is what we're doing working? And when he says no, not to get offended and to see how do we improve on stuff. Fruitfulness. I don't know.
Yeah. I think when you are honest and you create a space where everybody can be honest, that helps people to really find what they have to do. Not like just have fantasies, or to really find, okay, this is what we have to do because this is not working. So we have to change. We have to ask God honestly, and we can receive really what God wants for us, and we can do it. Because if we just keep doing what we think we have to do, and we are not really honest, and we don't do honest evaluations, we can keep going and thinking that, okay, we are doing something, but maybe God has better things for us.
I had a DTS leader tell me one time, I kind of questioned something they were going to do. And I'm like, dude, why are you doing that? He's like, listen, I've led DTSs for 10 years. I have 10 years of experience. I don't need you telling me what to do. And I'm like, you have 10 years of experience, but maybe you've done it wrong the whole time. So, I mean, I think that mentality of, no, I've done it for many years, not being open to evaluation and critique and stuff actually limits people to becoming everything they could be.
Yeah.
And the other thing I think what's allowed us to one other thing is I think we're willing to make mistakes.
Yeah, that's yes.
I'm very jealous of YWAM's reputation in the nation. I was a national coordinator for a while until we got rid of all of our coordinators, and I was a convener for a while. I'm jealous of YWAM's reputation so that we have the opportunity to influence the body of Christ. At the same time, as Impact, I'm willing for us to make mistakes as long as it doesn't harm our people or the people we're reaching. We're willing to try new things and fail. And but we're quick about saying, "Ooh, that doesn't work," and we're not so married to a new idea that we stick with it. Matter of fact, that new show that Kevin tore apart, we tore it apart. We stripped it down and we tried it again, and it still didn't quite pull it off. And we did another evaluation. We made changes. It still didn't quite pull it off. Finally, we just said it doesn't work, and we went back to the old show. We took some choreography pieces, some dramas, and inserted into the old show. And I think just being willing to recognize when what you're doing isn't working, when you're failing, just being willing to be honest, say, yeah, we tried, we failed, let's move on, I think is one of the reasons why we become fruitful. People want fruitfulness. So when you're actually doing something that works, people want to be a part of it.
Yeah. No, I think that's right. The thing that you've been highlighting now is to dare to evaluate. We are probably often not good enough at evaluating and just being raw honest and say, okay, let's win. This doesn't work any longer.
Also being visionary. I think that's one of our values is YWAM, being visionary. And so we're always looking ahead, and it's something that we try to promote, not just the primary leader. That's the other thing, by the way. One thing I would say, fruitfulness. One of the reasons why we are what we are today is because it doesn't depend on me. I could fall over dead right now, and impact would continue to grow. I know because I left for 3 years. I was gone. I was in the States helping with a big project there. Took 10 of our staff, of our 30 at the time, some of our best, and it still kept growing because it doesn't depend on me. I am key for the vision, and so every once in a while, every 6 months to a year, they'll say, Lance, share the vision. I'm like, come on, guys, we know the vision. We could all quote the vision. Like, no, we need to hear the story, and we need to hear why we do what we do. And I'm the best at communicating that of our leaders. But the leadership of impact, and definitely YWAM Madrid, doesn't depend on me. When I'm here, I contribute, but we believe fully 100% in team leadership, not just in name, but in real shared responsibility, what Steve Mayers calls plural leadership. So we have a core team of 8 of us as our core team. Then I realized, no, we need more leaders. We need more young leaders owning responsibilities and leading stuff. So we have the next group is 22. And then we've got another 4 or 5 that are about to step into that. So we're always expanding our leadership and kind of flattening it so that everybody can own stuff, lead stuff, use their gifts, be developed. I think that's another key of fruitfulness.
Excellent. So you've just shared some leadership principles there, really, and just what type of culture you've created, I think. Before we go any further, I'd like to talk just a little bit about Generation Z or Z. With one sentence, what would that be? How would you describe Generation Z? Of course, you can't do that with one sentence, but just try to cook it down. What is the essence of this generation? What are some of the defining characteristics even of this generation that are different from millennials?
See, I actually don't think we're different. I think we're all pursuing the same things. It's how they accomplish it. I think we're all looking for purpose. We're all looking for belonging. We're all asking the same questions. Who am I? Where am I? What happened? What can I do about it? Is there any hope? I think we're all asking the exact same questions. We pursue the answers in different ways. And so that may be our difference, because I actually don't know the answer. What I've seen is this generation wants to belong. They look for community. Kevin and I were talking about this, just talking about Generation Z, because I'm like, man, I'm not an expert in Generation Z. You are Generation Z, but Kevin's pretty unique. So it's like I have a daughter who's completely opposite. So I guess I do have 2 sides of the coin. But in one sentence, I would say Generation Z is looking for purpose, looking for meaning, looking for belonging, and they don't really know how to find it. What would you say, Kevin?
Yeah, what you said, I think, is every human being search for belonging and purpose and what can I do and how can I do it. The thing with Generation Z is, first of all, we want something quick and instant. And something, talking with my dad this morning, I realized is we don't give second chances that often, because so if a leader fails me, I'll just throw it away and search something new. So I because we have so many options nowadays. I don't need to try to make it work or give you another chance, because there's many options. I can go somewhere else and see if it works there. So as a leader, I think it's important to be really wise with your words. Do what you say and not say more than you do. I think that's really important, because realizing a lot of my generation, I personally know a lot of people my age that hate missions, especially missionary kids, hate missions, hate God because of that, are away and apart from the church and God and their families. And main reason is they trusted, and their parents or leaders failed on them many times. And my generations, we don't have that much what's the word?
Patience.
Patience. Grace. We don't have grace. We don't. And
hold people to a really high standard, and when they fail, just write them off and move on.
And for example, for me, Ivan, he is one of my leaders, and he was one of my leaders my whole life. And the main reason why I always appreciated him, he was really real with me. He when he screwed up, he told me. When he did, there was never trying to fake it, I don't fail. Ivan is the most vulnerable person I've met in my life, I'm pretty sure.
He fails a lot.
Every time I learn to be vulnerable because I fail a lot. So
you do it a lot better. No, but I remember when I was 15, and Ivan came to my house every 2 weeks or month saying, "Oh, I screwed up in this," but that made me appreciate him a lot, because he wasn't fake. Even though he screwed up, he was really honest, and he asked forgiveness, and he was vulnerable and humble. I think a key word for my generation is humbleness. We are surrounded by prideful people, and no one likes that, really. And my generation just throws away instant. It doesn't even give a chance. So being really humble, being a man of your word, are some small keys, I think, for my generation.
Great.
Ivan is one of the greatest connectors with this next generation. I mean, he's amazing. So what do you think for this next generation? The people are born from 96 to 2010. So, Kevin's on the older side. He's born in 2004. So that generation up to 22, 24, 2002. So up to 28-year-olds.
Yeah. I think belonging as a word. I think. Yeah. I think that, because I was thinking this guy, we have a camp right now, an Easter camp, and we have this guy. He's not Christian, but he's coming with us. And this morning we were talking about it, of why he's coming with us, because he feels part of us, because we are not trying to create we are Christians and here you have to be correct. Or no, it's for example, we have this guy. We know this guy because we have a hip hop project with some guys here in Madrid, and we have a WhatsApp group. And the other day, this guy sent a voice note saying really hard things, talking about having sex with deaf people. I don't know, I remember everybody started laughing, and it was really interesting because people asked him, "Bro, are you okay?" No, people don't say don't say that. You don't have to talk like that here. No, are you okay? Is everything good with you? Hey, bro, are you okay? What happened? What we can do for you? So he started laughing. Hey, sorry guys, I had a bad morning. So small things like that. Nobody rejects him, and I was amazed by the group, by the people of the group. I like these people because everybody started laughing. And, bro, are you okay? You need help. How can we help you? So I said, hey, I think, and now he's he's coming to this Christian camp with us, and he's not Christian. So
yeah, it's the old story: belong, believe, behave. That's not a new concept, but we actually believe it. We actually do it.
Yeah.
One of our core team, so one of the 8 that are the leadership, his name's Juanma. He came to one of our camps, wasn't a Christian, and he came because he loves dance, and he had an encounter with God. He was kind of shocked that time. He didn't surrender his life to Christ then, but he came back a few weeks later to another camp that we did. We used to do every 6 weeks, an intensive camp. And that time he had an encounter with God. It was funny because one of our guys got to him before worship time. His name is Diego. And he had an encounter with Jesus. And I went to him that morning about 8:30 in a worship time that we were having. I'm like, dude, you need to give your life to Christ. He said, I already did. Now he's spent time with us for 5-6 years, 7 maybe. And because he felt like he belonged. He found community. He felt home.
Yeah, I think for home. I think that's the word.
So this guy leads a Bible study, a mini Christian community that we have. It's called Mi Casa es Tu Casa. My house is your house. Yeah. And that's kind of that is kind of what we try to create here is YWAM Madrid, and his impact is people can feel at home, and then they find the Father. That's kind of part of our philosophy.
Yes, actually, that's one of my questions, because I've heard about this generation, and I think maybe it's true for all generations as well, but that in particular, the word hospitality, unpacked. That is, hospitality is to create a spirit of welcome, isn't it? And create home where you can come in and you can just dump down the couch, and just to be and belong in that sense. What do you think some of the aspects of this hospitality for Generation C would be? What are some of the what creates
something that I have that just came up to my head is most of my generations hate their houses right now in their homes. I think more than ever there's divorces, fights in house, there's abuse, or at least it's more commonly talked about. So I think we have it easier than ever to make people come to us. They want to be in a healthy place where they feel loved. And I just think a reason why hospitality works really well is because they don't have that. Most of my age people don't have that in their house. So how to do it? Well,
I think one of the keys is something Ivan said, and that is, we don't demand a certain behavior for you to be welcome. So we allow a lot of stuff that most Christians wouldn't for these people. So Ivan leads something that's called La Sesión. We're broken up Impact into 5 or 6 different groupings. One is our rappers, the guys that are just passionate about rap music, and we've got our dancers, and we got a freaky ministry. They're called Freaking Them. And we've got different groups. And so these guys do something called The Session. And it's once a month in Madrid. It started for Christian rappers, but he can't avoid attracting non-Christians. So non-Christians come and they're just blown away. They just had 1-year anniversary, had over 200 people at their anniversary. And it's a place where they have rap battles. And if you know anything about rap music, they're not always correct in what they say. And things can get a little out of hand. And we allow that to be able to then speak into the lives afterwards. And so most Christians wouldn't do that because, no, this is a Christian place. Matter of fact, there's one church here in the city that we were doing an activity there, and they were having fun and running around, and we got kicked out of the church because somebody went behind the pulpit. And it's just like, yeah, okay, they're not welcome there. These young people are never going to feel welcome in a church where you're not allowed to stand somewhere. So I think one of the things that we do is we're willing to take the risk to let people say what they think and do things where we can then speak into it and bring correction. And we're not just letting our people are held to a high standard. But for the guys that are just showing up, we're okay. We did a concert at the church next door, and I told my pastor friend, I'm like, listen, most of the guys, this was Ivan's fault, like most of these guys are not Christians. So they're going to say some terrible stuff. And I loved his response. He said, Lance, it's okay, as long as we have the last words. And Ivan was the one that was going to do the last thing. And one person that day came to Christ. And they said some terrible things, all kinds of foul language, hatred towards politicians and leaders and God. And I mean, just terrible stuff. And I was actually kind of feeling pretty bad for the pastor. But then Ivan and Diego got to do their thing, and one person came to Christ that day. Her name is Angela. She just had a baby last week. Her husband's a very well-known rapper who a year and 3 months later came to Christ. And then he's affecting a lot of other people. And so we're willing to take a lot of risks that most smart people would not. And so I think hospitality allows for people to be them. In this generation, I think they're pushing all the limits. They're pushing and trying to find themselves. And if you don't let them be them, then you don't love me for who I am. Now, we have people that do things they shouldn't, and so we'll talk to them. Hey, dude, why are you doing that? And just get into deep conversations where they actually come up with, well, what happens in their home, and that's where it all really happens, is with allowing people to be honest, allowing people to be authentic, even when we don't like it. And most Christian leaders aren't. It's too risky. A lot of bad things can happen.
I think when you take this kind of risk, after you have more authority to speak into their lives, when you have to correct them,
sure,
they give you authority because and it's easier. So,
but if they have to pretend and fit into our little mold in order to be here, then you're not really loving them for who they are. Yes. You're wanting the behavior to become before the belonging. So we let them be themselves. Now there's obviously we have normal. That's the other thing. I think Kevin hit it on the head. A lot of homes aren't homes. People they're not used to living in a healthy environment. So when they come here and we don't let people just do whatever they want, we create limits and boundaries and healthy environments so that they actually want to, and then they actually adapt their behavior to fit in because they're like, oh, this is actually good. We don't scream at each other. We don't argue. We talk. It's just being real.
You come here, what does here look like? Is that your living room? Is that they come here, they can do whatever? I mean, what does the here look like? Can you describe that for us?
Sure. Here is YWAM Madrid. We have a big building with 8 flats, some offices, a meeting room. Then we have a basement with 600 square meters where we have a large meeting room for about 110. We fit in 120 every once in a while, classrooms, offices. So a lot of these things happen in small contexts. So the living room, I mean, we have a lot of these living rooms. You're seeing about a third of it, where here in Spain, we cram people into spaces. So these guys will have 15, 20 people in their small group that you should probably only fit in America. We would probably only sit 6 people in here. We put 20 people here in Spain. And so it's homes. All of them are flats. And then when we do bigger gatherings, so our Free Kingdom guys, they do competitions like Mario Karts and different competitions and stuff for people that love gaming. They'll use our bigger room. We got a prayer room. We have a lot of spaces that nothing huge. Matter of fact, we're looking for new space, but it's home. It's our home. It's where a lot of our people live. And then our base is a hangout place. Like we've got a basement session now for our break dancers. We have a dance academy. And then on Saturday nights now, once a month, all the break dancers from around Madrid come here to break dance. But we just let them. That's the other thing. Our leadership team as YWAM Madrid, they're amazing. Honestly, they're the best leadership team I've ever seen functioning, and definitely been a part of. And they're okay with all of our mess. They allow us as Impact to just wreak havoc because they understand that we're changing lives. So they're willing to let this place get messy. Obviously, we as Impact have to clean it up and stuff, but nobody gets uptight about things getting broken or getting abused. And obviously, we try to correct all that, but our leadership team's crazy. They created a space so that we could do whatever we think will work. And so there's literally almost no limits as long as we believe it's going to impact people's lives for Christ. That's huge. Our building, we know it's a gift from God and there's a God story, but it's not sacred in the sense that we can't use it. And that I think is one of our huge things as well.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. I have another question for you, and that is, what do you think for this Generation Z said? What is a key contribution for that generation? I mean, what is their key contribution? what is their unique gift to the world, you would say?
TikTok.
Creativity, and also the ability to do like amazing things in small time. I don't really know how to say, but working with these guys, they have ideas. They know how to do things with good quality in quick and in a short time. I don't know. So it's like how you can have this idea to make this video just with 3 or 4 words about this image. So it's like it's amazing. That's why I do my music with them. I share my ideas and they create like the magic. So I think they have, because they are always involved of entertainment. So they are always looking TikTok, Instagram.
They're consuming a lot.
So after they can like bring really good ideas to do things, take things to another level, talking about quality and image. And so for me, it's
and also
what would you say?
Touching on that point, also that something can happen is we're really good critics, or we critic a lot because we consume a lot. So we have a really high standard, especially talking about videos and images and audio and stuff like that. So just something to have in mind.
Kevin and I were talking about Generation Z before this and just trying to figure what are the differences. Because I don't focus so much. I definitely don't let that educate my decisions on what we do. Because I don't. One of the things I think does differentiate this generation from the other is that everything's done in a collective. So it's group identity, which I think is a huge negative. We've lost individuality. But one of the things that as Kevin and I were talking, we're like, one of the things there's an entrepreneurial spirit that they have as well, of starting new stuff, of doing things. I mean, Kevin's got lots of friends. They sell sneakers and make $100 selling Air Jordans and these guys are doing, and of course it's a generalization, but there's a certain sense of entrepreneurship that there is, becoming a what do you call it? What do they call it on Instagram? Influencer. Thank you. Becoming an influencer. Anybody can do it, and a lot of people are doing it, and they're like, oh, I can do that. I can do a video. So there's this sense of I can do anything. If I've got a decent phone, I can do anything. So people are trying stuff. Not everybody's succeeding, obviously, but there is that sense of an entrepreneurship. So I think probably one of their contributions should be coming up with great new ideas to do things better.
Yeah,
that remains to be seen.
Yeah. No, great. Thank you. Another question.
Yeah. What Ivan just said, they've broken the status quo. They've done away with the status quo.
Because, for example, here in Spain, people of my age, you only could be like doctor, teacher, lawyer, nothing else. Like if you wanna succeed, but now it's like these guys has created like different opportunities.
Yeah.
And that's great.
It can be good. It's good for you. Yeah,
it's good for me.
It works for you. You don't have to be a doctor. You can be a rapper.
Yeah, I can be a rapper.
Well, I was thinking of if you look at the questions Jesus he asked. I mean, it seems like when in interacting with people, he was just asking questions all the time. And if you cook many of these questions down, it seemed to have the essence in it of what do you want. Most of his questions is cooked down to what do you want. So if Jesus he was just facing this generation, of course it's all individuals, I know, but if he asks, what do you want to this generation? What do you think? What are some of the key answers? What are they after?
Again, I think at the deeper level, the answer hasn't changed. Okay. At a superficial level, I think a lot of people want to be famous.
Yeah.
They want money so they can have the stuff that they think will make them happy. Fame being which I just think is terrible. Man, I would never want to be famous. I hate the idea. I'm on some Christian TV shows.
I used to wonder now.
Yeah, he's finally grown up. But I mean, so I think fame would be terrible. But I think this generation is pursuing fame. They want to be known, and then they want to have money, which I think pretty much every generation wants to have stuff. What would you say?
Well, Yeah, but that's the superficial, like, because the real reason behind it, they want to be valued, they want a security, they want, so it doesn't really matter what they think they want. What really matters is what they actually want.
Yeah.
And I do think that's a problem we have as leaders. I think we actually listen to their answer, and we're not hearing at a deep level. We're hearing the superficial thing, and either we correct it because it's wrong and say, no, you shouldn't want to be famous. That's blah, blah, blah. But what if we don't hear at a deeper level to hear what they're really trying to say, then I think we actually either try to give them what they're asking for, which isn't what they really want, or we rebuke them because what they're asking for is not healthy, right, or whatever. So I think we've got to learn to hear. I think we have to learn to hear.
Yeah. No, I think that's isn't necessarily what they want, but then it's the diagnostic tool to figure out where they are at more properly. Like where's your heart in a question, in a sense. But what are some of the key questions that they are asking you here?
Key questions Generation Z is asking. Well, you stumped us there.
What are they asking?
Well, they're asking us would be, how can I be part?
Yeah.
What can I do to be part? That's the most. Then another question that I've heard so much the last 3 months is, how can I have a relationship with God?
Yeah, that's true. We did a bunch of outreaches. Kevin was staff on our last DTS, and we went to a lot of high schools and schools, Catholic schools along the coast. And after each event where Kevin was doing the preaching, calling people to give life to Christ, they say, how do I have a relationship with Jesus? I mean, this real deep, urgent need, because they're growing up in a Catholic setting where they hear about God all the time. But this concept that you can have a relationship with Jesus was very, very passionate. They're very passionate about that. So that's the real question they were asking us over the last few months.
Well, that's sweet music. That's sweet music to my ears, for sure. It's not what you hear just like everywhere, but you must have done something. So what is it that they have seen that you do, that they are saying that?
Well, I mean, what we do, and the thing is what we do is so simple, it's embarrassing. It really is. And I'm not, what we do is very simple. There's 5 things we do in our events where we get their attention by, lights and sound and dance and drama, but we make sure the first thing we do is just get their attention. It's like, wow, this is cool. Second, we earn the right to speak in their life. How do we do that? Well, probably by dancing. So I don't do it, obviously. So we'll have a break dancer do this amazing thing, and all of a sudden everybody's like, wow, this guy's amazing. Or Yvonne will go out and rap and like, dude, this guy's cool. Tell me more. So we get their attention, earn the right to speak in their life. We actually want to hear what you have to say. Third, we never lose their attention. So our events are just nonstop, fast paced. I won't let there be a pause. I get very adamant about no pauses. Everything goes. I'm hard on our guys because I'm like, man, if you let people get distracted for a second, they're on their phone. And our message is and then we tell the whole story of humanity and the Creator. So we go back and we talk about how God's created us for a relationship. We start that we say, we're going to tell you a love story today. And we connect with their hearts, mind. Well, we connect through their minds. So we don't build up an argument against what we're saying by saying stupid stuff like most Christians do. We don't quote the Bible saying in Genesis 1, it says this, because they don't care what Genesis 1 says. And it actually, 1 Corinthians says, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but are mighty for this pulling down of strongholds, where we're supposed to take arguments, destroying arguments that raise up against Christ. Well, most of the time when we're talking about God to non-Christians or young people, we say things that actually provoke argument, internal. They're like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. What's he talking about? He doesn't know anything. And so our guys, when they're talking, we're very careful to say truth. So it's not opinion. It's like we speak truths that connect with their hearts, and we tell the whole story. Go back to creation. God created you. But then we answer the question. We literally say, so if God created the world, or if God's a loving God, why is there so much sickness? Why is there death? Why is there all this bad stuff? We talk about the rebellion, how we've all chosen to do things that hurt us, others, and the world around us. And in their hearts, they're saying, yeah, that's true. I know I do that. And we say, well, is there any hope? And we tell testimonies of how God's changed lives. And we show all this to where at the end we say, God intended you to have a relationship with him, but you're separated because of the things you've done. But he's taken your place on the cross. And I had a mayor come to me 2 months ago. We were in this plaza in this small town, and he came up to me and said, Lance, thank you so much for what you guys just did. I was crying when I saw Jesus come and take the black stuff off of the girl's neck and put it on him and take the punishment for what she had done wrong. I know that's me, and we need this message. As a matter of fact, he's paying for us to go do an event this summer. And so we tell this story. We get their attention, earn the right to speak in their life, never lose their attention, tell the whole story, creation, rebellion, the cross, and you choose eternity. And then we give them a choice to complete absolute surrender, repentance. It's not a wishy-washy, pray a prayer, go to heaven message. It's give your life to God. He gave up his life. All he asks in return is yours. And people are like, okay, people want something worth dying for. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, so then they come up, how can I have a relationship? So they say yes. And then the deep question of their heart is all of a sudden they've been awakened to their need to know God. And they're just past like, how do I have a relationship with God? And I think everywhere, we've been in Zimbabwe, we went to Zimbabwe, we go to Portugal, everywhere we go where we get non-Christians to hear that message, they want it. And here in Spain and on our outreaches in the last couple of months, we're seeing 30, 40, 50% of the people respond publicly with hundreds of their friends around to surrender life to Christ. Matter of fact, we had 95% in one of our events in Avila, which was a couple hundred people. So I think that's the message of the gospel is the most powerful message that connects with the deepest needs of an individual. The problem is we are not knowing how to communicate it. We get in the way a lot. And I think that's this next generation is we don't understand how to speak the truth they need to hear in a way that they can understand it and respond to it. And when we do, you can tell them what they're doing is wrong and they'll actually recognize it and repent. But if we're too wishy-washy or just too, oh, that's not good, they don't care what you have to say. They lose respect for people real quick.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you. Very, very good. I have a little game here. Well, not really, but I love to hear from each one of you. What are some of the do's and don'ts? You have put some of them in several things that you have said. But if each one of you were to just say one thing, don't do this, that turns them off, and then a thing that you definitely need to do, toward the generation C. What would that be? Just in a short sentence. I think again you have pointed some of it out, but you get a last chance here. Then
I have a do that was mentioned in the beginning, but I want to make a lot of emphasis on it because for me, it's probably the reason why I am the person I am. Is something that we do as a value here in Impact is see people propheticamente.
See people prophetically.
Okay.
And for example, those moments that I destroyed their show in a really bad way, being a 15-year-old punk that thinks that knows it all and talking really badly and destroying them and telling them they're not good singers and dancers. And they could have easily turned me out, like shut me off and not listen to me really easily. But they were really humble. Like they were humble enough to listen to me and realize that I had a gift or whatever you want to call it. And they saw me prophetically. I mean, I obviously later got correction, but that didn't stop them listening to me. And everything I've done and do is because they saw me prophetically. Even if I don't do everything perfect, I might respond badly sometimes. I might do this wrong or something. That's something that I've seen we do that I like personally here is because someone fails, we don't take them off of everything. Something I've realized that happens a lot in churches is if someone has sinned or whatever, I don't know, they are taking off the leadership team or the worship or this and that, and you can't serve. If you're not perfect to our eyes, you can't serve. And I think letting people have mistakes and confronting them and talking about them, but not having less responsibility because of that, I think is due. Obviously, be wise. If they're not responsible in their work, then I think that's different. But I think that's a due.
Right. Great. Thank you. I see we just have a few minutes left, so just try and keep it short. The last ones here.
I only have a do. It will be like listen to their questions, or hear their questions, their hearts, they also their opinions. I think it's important to listen, to hear what's happening.
Yeah, they want to be heard.
They want to be heard. Yeah,
I was thinking about that earlier too. I was like, what how do you connect with Generation Z? They want to be heard. Now, I'm very clear about opinions. I say not all opinions have the same value. They're not all the same value. Ivan's, and that means me. My opinion doesn't matter as much as Ivan's in many situations. He understands the situation better than me. So yeah, I'll have an opinion, but my opinion doesn't carry the same weight as Ivan's in some cases. In a lot of cases, the younger generation's opinion doesn't carry the same weight as mine because I have more experience. So I just to add that, because I think that is a key. They want to be heard. They need to be able to share. They need to know they're heard, I guess. So my do is hear them, talk with them, have conversation. I led the last DTS. I haven't led a DTS in years. And I led our last DTS. All 8 students are coming back on staff. And I think it's because they felt loved and heard. And it didn't mean I agreed with them, but we had conversations. So learn how to have a conversation, learn how to listen, and then learn how to genuinely love and see the people prophetically. That's what I would say.
Be like Jesus.
Hey, there you go. Be like Jesus.
There you go. That's a good last word here. Thank you so much. Not exactly the last word. We actually have 2 more questions, and one of them that is, what are some of the resources? Is there some books that you read or YouTube's, anything advice you'll give to our viewers here that, hey, go listen or watch this, and that would help you in understanding this generation?
I don't know about this generation, but I have a book that I want to recommend for people to use. Brian Brent, who is the leader of Circuit Riders, passed away this last year. We've actually translated in Spanish. They were so good, we had our team translate them and actually publish them in Spanish. Salvation Encounter.
Okay.
Salvation Encounter, I think you guys need to get it. It helps people deal with their past stuff. It's one of the most powerful books and things you can do with this next generation. And the next one is Culture Shift, both written by Brian Brent, Brian and Christy, and you can find it online, I'm sure. So those are 2 things that we have done with all of our staff and will continue to do.
Great.
I don't really know, because I listen to a lot of podcasts, but they are in Spanish.
Yeah, in Spanish.
But I think this book is really good. This book called Values Are Important.
Values Matter. Values Matter.
Yeah.
It's a really good book.
What about you, Kevin?
The Bible is a really good book.
I was literally just about to say, read the Bible together. Literally.
Yes.
It's key. It's key to because our generation, we with the Bible that's a whole other topic. I think my generation in the Bible, because we don't like to admit it, but we need help. We need people that know. Us as a community here in Madrid, in YWAM Madrid, we started to read the Bible together every Thursday morning. And it's really, it's not a Bible study. We read it, we ask questions. There's people that know a lot more about the Bible because they've studied it, and we get opinions of what you understand of this, and that's awesome. That's great.
Every time we've done that by reading the Bible together, we started years ago. It was amazing as people have revelation, and then shares like, wow, but hey, that's what God just spoke to me yesterday about this. And the Bible becomes a part of your conversation. So it's not a joke. Great resource, the Bible.
Excellent.
Reading it together. We're actually, so we're just going through the book of Acts right now. And it's something that as a community we're committed to. And it really gets us on the same page, gets us talking about the same stuff. And then everybody sharing their own revelations is a great way to have closeness to, the Bible.
Excellent. Thank you. And the final question, and we ask that at every leadership lounge, and that is if there's a key mistake that you have made that you have learned from and we could learn from as well. And now, since I have 3 guests here, you get to pick, you get to choose who want to share a mistake that you have really learned from and that.
I mean, I think the person that has more mistakes.
I've made the most mistakes. I have definitely made the most mistakes. Yvonne might be close, but what I'm going to say is probably not what you're looking for, but I'm serious. As YWAM Madrid, we made a huge mistake years ago by wanting to champion young people, and we didn't know how to do it. So we actually said to them, dream your dreams, have your visions, come up with a program, a project, and we'll support you in doing it. And we failed them because we weren't a part of it, so we didn't own it. So we didn't know how to support them. And we actually lost a great guy because he created this project that didn't fit into anything that we were doing. We didn't know how to help him. And so he ended up leaving. I think that was a huge mistake. And what we realized was with young people that have big ideas, but it's in a vacuum. It's in a fantasy land where we say, hey, dream your dream. So we got a young guy, his name's Isaac. He's the only skateboarder in our whole community. And I said, Isaac, we can't start a skate ministry right now. We don't have enough people. We don't have critical mass. We don't have a team. But be a part of our sports ministry. Come and dream your dream about skateboarding. Keep on sharing it. And as soon as we can, actually our sports ministry started like that too with Moy. He loved us. We didn't have a sports ministry. And I said, Moy, come, just serve, be a part of us. Dream about sports. Let's keep sharing it. Let's find the right people. Now we have a sports ministry. And then with Isaac, amazing. Also the son of Goyo and Grace, who's part of our leadership team, same age as Kevin. Great guy. He's been with us for a couple of years now. It was like, Isaac, you need to be part of Impact because we want to impact our society. Skateboarding is amazing, but we don't have critical mass to start a ministry. So I wasn't going to encourage him to start a skate ministry. He would have failed. What I want is him to succeed. So as soon as we had our sports going, he was a part of that and helped. And it wasn't his passion, but he did it. And then we actually said, all right, it's time to start skate stuff. So we actually did. Now we have a skate program that our city is now building a skate park behind our building so that we can do more. Because some of our sports guys, who their thing is skateboarding, but they love kids and love Isaac, are now working with him. So I think our mistake was actually trying to give too much freedom to dream without the support system in place to help those dreams happen. And we lost an amazing guy. Actually, I mentioned it before. His name is Diego, who dreamt a dream that then we weren't able to help him do. We failed him. And we lost him. He still lives here in the city. He's still a friend, but we lost him because we failed him when it came to, we promoted him dreaming a dream and a vision. And then there was not a context for him to plug that into what we're doing. So it's kind of like, well, we'll encourage you. And yeah, that's one of the biggest mistakes that I regret now.
Yeah. That is abdicating almost, or it's, yeah. And it was a timing issue, it sounds like, as well, isn't it? But
I think it was a concept issue. We thought by encouraging people to dream that we're doing what our vision, be visionary, allow young people to lead us. Those are values we have as YWAM. The problem is as leaders, we need to create a context where they can succeed with their dreams. And the other thing is we believe in team leadership. So that if there's not critical mass of team, then we're encouraging them to fail. You got to put all the pieces together. You can't just look at one of our values and say, dream, be visionary. No, because you got to say, but do it in team and all these other things. So for me, that was a big mistake we made as YWAM Madrid. We recognized it pretty soon. I'm like, whoa, this isn't working. And so we stopped and I actually had to ask people, don't start what you're dreaming about now. Let us create it with you. in a context. And now is when we're actually seeing healthy, steady growth on a foundation of community, team leadership, and being a part of something bigger than oneself. So I think those are some things that we had to learn, and we did, and we were pretty quick about learning it. We're still making all kinds of mistakes. Try to make as many mistakes as I can every day without failing miserably.
Excellent. I mean, without being willing to make mistakes, we can't create anything new and anything of original.
But you have to be quick about evaluating. You have to be honest when you've made a mistake. Ask forgiveness, change. And if you do all that, then quite frankly, I think God's gonna. People resist proud, give grace to the humble, just like God. So when you're humble, when you make mistakes, people extend grace, and that's what we've done, I think.
Excellent. So we will end this time by talking about mistakes. That's excellent. And but be graceful, and allow for it, and then evaluate. So I think you have. That was certainly not the highlight of our talk here, but it has been very enlightening. And thank you so much for taking this time. I love also for you, if there's a particular either website, where can we see more of what you do? Even you talk about the building. I don't know if it's online somewhere. I'd love to. Do we all have to go to Madrid, or is it possible to see it somewhere?
Yeah, you can go on to our website, YWAM Madrid. What is it? It's madrid.jcum, which is YWAM in Spanish, jcum.com. madrid.jcum.com, or just search online YWAM Madrid. You'll find us on Instagram. But our website, you can see the base, see the people, see most of our ministries here. The cool thing is Impact is kind of the place where we've experimented and done all kinds of stuff. And now we have another ministry that's amazing called Transformation, where they're focusing on our neighborhood and the city. God's given them amazing, great. I mean, they're just starting to blow up right now, and applying these same principles. It's, by the way, I have to give credit to the LDC, the Leadership Development course that Steve Mayers came up with Barry Austin, and so on. I learned all this back 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago, 18 years ago, the principles of leadership developed in the development course, team leadership. And we've just been trying our hardest to apply those principles to everything we do.
Sweet. Thank you. Thank you. We have just finished the Leadership Development Encounter online, actually just last week, with Steve as well, with some of the same principles, but of course, just a much shorter version. So you will find that and many other resources on the ELC website, and great stuff on the Facebook as well. So again, thank you so much for taking the time. This has been just amazing. Also getting to know you a little bit, and just sharing your wisdom and your experience. It has been fantastic. So thank you.
Our pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
So next month it will be on vocation. We will look at life and faith, faith and work, how it is being in the workplace as well, and how YWAM also we can strengthen that area. I think we have to do that in order to really see nations to disciples. So that will be the topic for next month. But thank you for joining us today. Bye-bye.